Good evening, everyone. It's great to see you here and welcome. It's another Sea Stories. It's June, and this is our last one of our fourth year. And for those of you who stuck with us, thank you very much. It's great to have you along. Tonight we have a good friend of mine, Captain Dan Moreland, who has been captain and the lead on Picton Castle for a long time. And he's going to take us around the world, I do believe. So we're looking forward to that. It's going to be great. Hello, Dan. How are you?
How are you doing? Good, good.
Good, good.
Here
Welcome,
in
my
sunny
friend.
tropical Nova Scotia, we're doing fine.
I love that. I love that. Before we get going, everybody, we're going to do what I always like to do, which is do a check of the chat. So if we could, if you would take a moment and everyone, chat, type into your chats just where you're signing on from, and we'll have a chance to see how it's going. And if I can spell Annapolis right, there we go. And there we go. Seattle, Asheville, Newark. Hey, that's great. Nice to see you all. And the crew of schooner Huron Jewel up in Drummond Island, Michigan. Alice, Bantam, Connecticut. Bill Schwab, Gloucester. Well, it looks like it all works great. Now, Dan, if you do want to follow along with the chat at the bottom of the screen where my face is, you'll see there's a black bar, and in that black bar, there's a little button that says chat. So you can watch and see that going on. Also, everybody, I am going to have a Q&A window, and if you would like to type in any particular questions, you can type them there, or you can also type them over in the chat. Boy, look at all these people signing in. Midland, Ontario. We were just talking about Midland, Ontario. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have Captain Dan Moreland, who is going to tell us a little bit about his program, his voyages, and while he's doing that, I will be running some slides for him. So, Captain Moreland, when you are ready, I will share this up to the world. Here we
Start
go.
whenever you want.
Yeah, here we go. There's your smiling mug.
Yeah. Nice ship in the background anyway.
Yeah, you bet.
Well, this our voyages start in Lunenburg, but I'd like to well, first it's a pleasure to do this. I enjoy this. It takes me back to this fabulous voyage and ship. And but and questions help. So do send questions. This is not going to be a standard travel log. It's more of insights and visions into what we do and how we've done it. It's I think as the poster said, we've done not 8 world voyages in Pitcairn Castle and one more in the Brigantine Romance, which kind of started it all for me. And a lot of miles. And it's been great. It's been amazing. It's not been a piece of cake at times, but it's been pretty wonderful. So here we are in Lunenburg. There's Pitcairn Castle at our wharf, getting ready to go. We can keep going. Next slide. And it's a big job. We spent around 3 weeks, 4 weeks. There's a lot of work that comes beforehand, but we have the trainees come at least 3 weeks before we sail. There's tons to do, but a lot of it's just orientation, getting familiar with the ship. Of course, there's drills and familiarity with all the safety gear, but there's also bending sails, storing the ship. But in the process of doing all that, they gained familiarity. In the Denmark, we used to spend about a month alongside before we sailed, and rigging up everything made the crew familiar with the ship. You didn't just hop on and go, despite, how good they might have been. But by putting the ship together, they become good sailors even before, I mean, more or less before they leave the dock. So there's a lot to work. Here we see bending of sail. It's all cotton canvas sail and do it pretty old school, and it works really well. Next.
Great.
Finally, we will go after all kinds of safety drills, inspections. We will have dry docked. You'll see that in a minute. We have to get recertified. The vessel is a certified vessel, very similar to the U.S. Coast Guard or Canadian Transport Canada, in some ways, in excess of the requirements of those two countries. But next slide. That's our basic route: Lunenburg, south-southwest to Panama Canal through the Pacific, all through the Pacific, uh, above Australia into lots of islands there, Bali, and then Bali, that shows Reunion, Rodriguez, Reunion, sometimes Madagascar, South Africa, Cape of Good Hope, Namibia, and up to St. Helena into the Caribbean. I love spending a lot of time in the Caribbean at the end of the voyage because then the crew are good at that. If you go to the Caribbean in the beginning, it's not so good because there's too much bad things. But by the time you get there on the 11, after sailing around the world, they're no longer dumb kids that want to drink too much. They're seasoned mariners who know how to have a good time ashore. Completely different.
Yeah.
Next. That's our wharf in Lunenburg. We have a great facility. It's a great the home base for it. It's not our home port. Our home port's in Rarotonga, Cook Islands, which we go to every time we're on a world voyage. And it's a great place and it's a strong regulatory flag. It's not a, people say, oh, I your Cook Island flag. And mainly we're for offshore flags so we can crew internationally. So I can hire crew from any country. And this you cannot do if you're Canadian or US flag. And it boils down to that. But the regulations are either the same or more strict than they are in the other flags. Let's go next. Dry docking is important. This is the bow of obviously the ship. We're just about ready to launch. It's all painted up. You can see it draws about 12 foot forward. Next.
Mhm.
Next. That prop originally was a 9 foot. She was originally a steam vessel with the hull of a Brixton trawler, very much a sailing ship hull. Got out of dead rise, very beautiful long run. And the original prop as a steam vessel, auxiliary steam vessel, was a 9 foot bronze thing, and this got traded out in the mid. This is from 1965. It's a Burmeister Wayne controllable pitch prop. It's a mere 6 feet wide. Next, and that shows a nice run. That is a nice, commercial. I mean, burdensome sailing ship hull. It's not a racing hull, but it's actually kind of a medium clipper. But this shows the sailing ship hull. Which most steam vessels of that period were not any materially different than a sailing ship. Next. And of course, doing engine room work and not gonna, we love our engine room. We've got a 7-cylinder, 690 horsepower Burmeister Wayne Alpha, and we usually carry a full-time engineer. Here's an apprentice engineer from Bermuda, tinkering away. Next. And finally, we go. People ask me, what's the toughest part of the trip between Lunenburg and Bermuda? Both cases. It could be God knows what. You want to get past it, but so we get going and we get going and we get gone. But once you get south of Bermuda, say 25 south, the weather warms up, it gets nice and warm. You start peeling off the layers. Trade winds are kicking in. You start seeing flying fish and life starts to get good. Next. It can blow too, and we take crew of all ages. About, I'd say, a third of the crew students are sort of early 20s, late teens. Another group is in their 30s to 40s to 50s, and then some more mature. But this lady was a great crew member, and she had a grand time on board. Next. She's a real square rigger. She's very conventional. When we set out to rig her, we followed very conventional things based on previous ships I've sailed in. And my goal was not to make her weird and unique, but to make her absolutely conventional. So if a guy from 1910 came aboard and said, oh, yeah, that's okay. And we had some guys from 19 come on board and they said, yeah, that's okay. And so she's a very nothing innovative in the rig. The rig is designed after the peak technology of the age of sail, which is probably somewhere between 1900 and 1920. Go ahead. Nice ship, nice rig, easy to handle. Sailed surprisingly well. Surprised even me. I designed the rig. I was surprised how well she sails. But square rig, any sailing ship can be good for sail training at one way or another. A square rig ship is particularly good for a larger crew. But you can have a valid experience on almost anything, as long as there's more than one person. You can't do sail training on a windsurfer because that's just one person. But any other thing, it could be valid. There's a great movie out called Maiden about Whitbread race that has, and it is about these women got together and built this boat and came in second. It's an amazing story, but it's also a testimony to sail training because they really knew how to do what they're doing. Next. There's a lot of slides, so I'm going to go pretty quickly. Here they're switching out a lower topsail. I got to send the old one down, send the new one up, and we do this sometimes without taking in all the other sails. We want to keep moving. So they're doing that. One big difference between go ahead and Picton Castle and as a cargo ship, she would have had 12 to 13 crew, and we can take up to about 48 altogether. So this is what the ocean is like, and you see lots and lots of this on a 33,000 mile voyage. It looks like this. Sometimes it's brighter, sometimes it's grayer, but there's lots of this. Next. And we learned to use how all the gear, this is the capstan hauling down. I think we're sending up a topmast or a topgallant mast with this at sea, and we're using the foredeck capstan. This, interestingly enough, came out of its original hide box. Bob Douglas of the Shenandoah got it for me, and it was out of the Bath, I think the Hyde Ironworks, and I think it's Bath, Maine, and it was an original. It would have gone, had it been delivered to the shop, it would have gone on a big schooner or a square rigger, but it went on ours instead. Next. So it's a long way down. Like I said, this isn't going to be much of a travelogue, but we sailed all the way down, get into the trade winds, break through the Caribbean islands somewhere, and our first stop has been at sometimes Portobello, and this is which is on the coast of Panama, and it was the main gold port. It's a fascinating little spot, very a little sleepy fishing village now, but at one time it was a major shipping port for the Spaniards, and tons of gold were exported from here. And there's a port, and this is one is a fort, and there's all these cannon lying there, and it just their caissons just rotted out from underneath them, and they're too heavy to move. So no one placed that cannon there. That's where it ended up because the wood underneath it rotted out. It's an amazing little place, and a neat little place. It's only a day sail away from the Panama Canal Zone, so it's a nice place to get settled and maybe have a cold beer before you have to run through Panama. Panama is a very fascinating place. Let's go next. Entering the Panama Canal Zone, big ships, many of them. And we always take an agent and we pay a little extra to go through because otherwise, it puts us at the head of the line. Otherwise, we could be waiting there a month and we don't want to wait there a month. So we pay, I don't know what we pay, but so now we're in the world of shipping. It's a different world and it's one we're going to visit for a little while and then we're going to leave it behind. But let's carry on here. Next. We have to, one of the things I designed the ship around, the rigging and everything else, is that everything can come inboard. Because when you're going through the Panama Canal, you have to have everything inboard. And so our longboats are everything in the boat David's hoist in. This is our 23-foot longboat coming on board. And then the boat Davids get swung in, the yards get swung in, they get cockbilled and swung in, and the everything's got to come in. And the ship is fairly slab-sided. There's no channels, nothing's really sticking out. So that makes going through the canal a little bit easier. Next. So one morning we get up and the pilot comes and he's usually pretty frustrated because we don't have a pilot house. We don't, and this was this last time particularly raining and you heave up the anchor at usually just at dawn, so you can make the first lock at light. And the sun comes up quickly. It also goes down quickly in the tropics. And it's an amazing facility. We got these mules up here. That machine on the lower left is an electronic mule. It used to be steam, and they'll put us on 4 wires. So we don't control. Once we get close, they'll put wires on the 4 corners of the ship, and they'll pull us through and spot us. And the big comment I have to the pilots, just make sure they understand the vessel weighs twice as much as she looks like she weighs. And so they just can't stop her on the dime. They never do. They always do exactly what they feel like. And every time we break something because they thought they could stop her on a dime. She weighs 600 tons, but they're used to big ships, so they think they'll stop. She doesn't, and so something breaks. And of course, they blame me. But anyway, amazing thing. 1914, tens of thousands of people died putting it together, but it's one hell of a shortcut. Let's go next. We get in, we lock in, another vessel, a big tugboat comes in behind us, we fill up, and so we go, there's 3 locks going up and 2 going down, about 85-foot lift into Lake Gatun, and we have to keep up 8 knots, which is a bit much for us under power, but we can do it. And let's go next. It's raining or it's sunny, so we rig a little awning over the helm and keep on going. Next. So where am I now? Well, this might be a little And then we get through. Now, Panama is a neat place. I've got lots of stuff on it, but usually we find a little anchorage on the other side of Panama just to get our act together and get a swim in. And the other side, Pacific side of Panama is it's a beautiful place. There's great little islands to go. And I think a lot of people that have set out in the Pacific, they don't bother with these islands. They're in such a hurry to get to the Galapagos or someplace they neglect these wonderful islands in Panama. But it starts, we're going to see a lot of stuff like this, pretty beaches, little coral, and why don't we stay here forever kind of pictures.
Yeah.
Next. That one's a little bit out of, so we rigged up a chair for the pilots. Got to make the pilot. The pilots are very good in the Panama Canal. You know, I've been a lot of time. Well, I guess what, 9 times through or 10 times through. The Panama Canal pilots are very capable, and we have to do two because we're not fast enough to go one time. So the pilot is once they get settled and once they get realize we're going to steer in the middle of the channel, they tend to calm down and that we're not. And then, but they have actually control of the ship, unlike most pilots everywhere else in the world. Pilots are a consultant, they're an advisor. In the Panama Canal, they technically take command of the vessel. That's different. Next. My young son and the chief mate, Dawson, he grew up on board and he's actually sailing the Harvey Gammers this summer. So he's very happy about that. We control the engine, and that's where we keep control because he might say half ahead, and what we really mean is half astern. So we take charge of the engine. So
Yeah.
next. Get anchored on the other side. And that's a typical day. Big container ship, monster container ship coming through. There's a new Panama. There's two parallel Panama canals. There's a new one. The old Panmax was about 110 feet wide. Now it's like 160 feet wide. I guess some really big ships coming through there now. And that, of course, depletes the freshwater in Gatun Lake quite a bit because the way it works is gravity-fed fresh water. And Pitkin Castle is worse than a super cargo ship because we don't take up much water, but we take up the whole lock. But that ship behind the Pitkin Castle, he takes up the whole lock, but he also takes all the water out of it. So it takes more water to send Pitkin Castle through than it does a big ship. And that irritates them a lot, but I can't help that. Next. So off we go. We do our final provisioning. Last place to go shopping. Panama is a great place to get anything done, any kind of tools or machines or supplies. Wonderful markets. Also a lot of fun there, which I didn't show any pictures of that, but there's the old city. It's just a wonderful place to visit. And if it was at the end of the voyage, we'd probably spend a month there. But we're kind of keen. We're chomping at the bit to get out in the Pacific, so off we go. And besides, I think Conrad said, what was it? That ports rot ships and men. It might have been Nelson. It's a true story. Off we go. Next. And it's about 800, 900 miles to Galapagos. There's more sailing pictures coming up. And we go to a place called Wreck Bay, which is also a naval base. Pretty bureaucratic, but still a lovely place, a lovely visit. And it's this one island. We got, it's everything you've ever seen on a Discovery Channel. With tortoise and you could spend weeks and months there. We don't. We spend about a week in this one island, and people can see other islands if they want. But depends on the rules at the time. But we've been restricted to the one island in most of our visits.
Yeah.
Next, got to have your tortoises. And next. And that's our skiff, and those are the fellows greeting us. And they'll jump into your dinghy at night. They'll jump into your skiff, and they've pretty much convinced the place is theirs. And I don't think there's any arguing with them. And you kind of walk around them. They won't bother you. Don't bother them, but they'll leave you alone. It's a wonderful place, good visit, and that's a typical rigging scene. The boobies, and they also poop a lot. And so wear your foul weather gear if you're at the wheel. And but lots of them everywhere until we get out of range. And then we go. Now the next stop is Pitcairn Island. It's 24,000 miles away. This is a wonderful passage historically or traditionally for us because this is when we really get into the groove of the ship. Three watches, one on, one off. Well, sorry, one on, two off. 4 on, 8 off, and this is where you get the rhythm of the vessel. This is where the crew, we do a lot of workshops. This is where people really get familiar with sailing. They might start celestial navigation. We do a lot of workshops and rigging and sailmaking, and this is where we really get into the deep sea groove of the voyage. My favorite passage. So next,
Hmm.
we might even set stunsails, and these well, that's what stunsails are. And it's a fun exercise in seamanship. It's pretty. I don't know what it really does for speed. I think it would add up over time, but it's just sort of a good it's a good thing to do.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, squall in the distance. That's a minor squall of no significance, little rain in it, but there's nothing scary about that. If you can see under it and the rain is going straight down, you shouldn't be too nervous. If it's going sideways and you can't see under it, you should be nervous. Crew turn into crew at this point. The trainees are turning, they're evolving into seamen, and they're becoming natural aloft. We've got a very good idea of what we have in the way of crew, and they're starting to experience the ship in depth. Now, our sea time to land time is about two-thirds, one-third. So we are seamen that go to cool places as opposed to tourists that work on a boat. So
Hmm.
just next. So 24,000 miles of this. The shortest time I've ever done it in was 18 days. Longest, I think, was 28 days. Um, but we're headed for Pitcairn Island, the famous island that the Bounty mutineers settled in 1790. Been there a bunch of times, love it there, but it's a long way to go. And then it emerges out of the mist eventually. Next. But we got a lot of seafaring till we get there, and crew get good. Might learn celestial navigation here. The second mate is doing a star fix. We teach celestial navigation on this leg. It's nice to do then because you've got generally consistently pretty good weather. This last voyage, the weather was pretty rough all throughout the Pacific, but we have at least halfway down to Pitcairn, we had good weather. But we teach navigation for those that really want to do it. I found that everyone thinks they want to do it, and then the first class, 20 people show up, and the second class, 10 people show up, and it's about 5 or 6 people because it's actually work. You've got to do it every day to be good at it. But we have lots of sextants, and we're happy to teach it. I don't make them do it. We do make them learn how to steer and do galley and wash dishes and learn their lines, but if they don't want to do celestial, that's up to them. And a lot of time off, a lot of free time, wouldn't want any more. One of our gang, guitar up on the forecastle head looks like a setup shot, but it was actually true. You know, that's what traditionally did back in the. We find most of these traditions are pretty healthy. You know, keep your music up on the foredeck and the captain stays away. I didn't take this picture. You know, captain should just stay away, stay out of their hair, let them have their life without me. Sometimes it breezes up, got to take in sail. And you'll see a lot of pictures of the young one up front. That's Vaia Fialatu. She was on board for 6 years. She started out as Dawson's nanny. She was the daughter of friends of mine in Tonga who said that I should take her so she gets out of Tonga, which is the goal of many Tongans. And she ended up staying with us for 6 years. And now she's working on Europa. And when she's back in Tonga, she's running her a Marine Service agency. Great sailor and a great nanny to Dawson for the year she was doing that. Behind her is Joe. He was a carpenter from Fiji. Who we picked up along the way, and the other guys are from the United States and Canada, and it was a pretty good crew. We've got a big vessel. We actually have a big barbecue. We sometimes have a barbecue right on deck. That's one of the fun parts of having a scaled up 300-ton vessel. You can do things you can do on a ship like ours that you can't do on a smaller vessel. And this is a Grenadian barbecue, and we caught a lot of fish, and so we barbecued it. And this is Paul Brack, and he's now he's a skipper of tugboats out of Hawaii, as well as captain of many other vessels. Great mariner. He also lives in Lunenburg too. Pitton Castle's brought a lot of people to Lunenburg. We make our own sails on board. Um, what do I say about that? Well, it's a nice thing to teach. It's a good thing to do. We make all our sails are made on board. It's a nice skill. We've sent young sailmakers to sail offs, and when they get off the ship and they've got skills, hand skills in particular. And I said, well, you can get the job. Now, can you keep the job? Because the pace in a sail off is about 100 times faster than there's no coffee breaks or get up and chat to your friend by the main hatch. No, it's bang, bang, bang. You're making sails. You're not trying to play with your device to get another song on it. No, 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 no. So that's the big difference. The skills are the same, but the pace is very different in a sail loft. A professional sail loft, it's production. Anyway,
Dan, are
we
these
make our
all
own
hand
sails.
stitched? Are these hand stitched? Do you carry a
This
sewing
one
machine?
is this one that we're watching, looking at is machine stitch, but most of the time if we're doing it at sea, they're usually hand stitched.
Yeah.
We do both. This is the first mate, Erin Grigg on one voyage, and she's making a new royal yard. I forget what was wrong with the old one, but we needed a new one. She went on later to become the chief mate of the Blue Nose for several seasons, and now she's just sat for it and got her original master's license. She's from Bermuda and Nova Scotia. Don't mess. This is one of our cats who is observing the progress and assessing its validity. So,
Oh,
time for an ad.
time for an ad. Hang
All
in
right.
there.
Well, no worries.
Wave your hand if you don't hear any sound once I get going. Here we go. This is a pitch to ask you to join us at the American Schooner Association. Founded in 1972, the American Schooner Association is dedicated to the history, preservation, and promotion of the schooner rig. You don't need to be a schooner owner to join the organization, just to be interested in these beautiful boats. As time marches forward, the role that schooners played in the history of our country is fading too. Your membership helps support educational programs and provides a base for preserving these vessels. So, join us. It's inexpensive, important, and we'd love to have you along. We'll see you at amschooner.net. And there we go. We are back again with Daniel Moreland, and we're out in the Pacific somewhere.
It's an important part. Now I'm sort of going a little quickly because there's quite a few slides, and I mean, really, a world voyage would take 6 separate episodes to do properly. But anyway, so this is one. This is a drill. We're doing a man overboard drill, and we train in fire fighting, and we train in abandoned ship, man overboard, as well as damage control and a few other drills, PFDs and survivor exposure suits. And this is a man overboard drill, which is works very quickly because the boats are already in hanging and davits over the water, so we don't have to swing a boat out over the water. So the Coast Guard loves this type of thing because the boat goes straight in the water, bang, zoom. And our quickest return of our coconut was 3 minutes. Now, we have to admit that these are under usually good conditions. We don't do them in the middle of the night, and we're not going to do them in the middle of the night because as soon as you've done a man overboard drill, you now have 4 people that are not on the ship anymore, and that is its own hazard. So, but we do it as much as we can. But key to this is that since we run the boats all the time and launching from the davits all the time, just by the natural working of the ship, they're good at this stuff. But we drill in it anyway. There's nothing like drills. Got to do them. This is a swim call, completely different. Now we got a lot of men overboard. So, if we get a really calm day, and it has to be really calm, and we have a set protocol, and first it's got to be warm, and then we put 2 people aloft to keep an eye out for sharks. We put a lookout on the bow and lookout on the stern. We trail a life ring, and we put a sort of scramble net over the side so everyone can climb out at once. And they're only allowed to swim on one side of the ship. They can't swim under it, and no hijinks, and don't go too far, and so forth and so on. But
Hmm,
it's very popular, fun to do, but conditions have to be just so.
great picture.
I think he did eventually hit the water. Doesn't look like it there. Fun to do. If you're a bark in the middle of the South Pacific, you might as well have a man overboard. Got a haul on the ropes. That's Dawson. I think he's 9 or 10 there or something. He's 14 now. We keep going. Lots of days like this, many, many of them. We're sailing ever westward, um, many thousands of miles. But once the crew don't care about the port they're going to, then you know you've got sailors on board.
Mm.
And this happens. If you're just, I mean, we love our ports. I mean, goodness, we go to some fun places. So after we're on our way to Pitcairn still, so let's keep going. Lookout, forward lookout, we do we at sea we do it only at night, and in closer quarters we do it 24 hours a day because there's always someone on the quarterdeck looking out. But this is a very popular post because you get to be by yourself completely. It's you and the stars and the sails and the ship, and people will often say that's their favorite job. And there's nothing to do. You stand there and just be there. And I mean, you have to be alert, but nothing to do except be alert. Captain Art Kimberly told me about being on the Abraham Rydberg on forward lookout. He could grab the buntlines on the foresail above and he'd get lifted off the deck. And then he'd come down to land again. Our sail isn't quite big enough to do that. Our day starts at 6 a.m. and it goes to 6 p.m. No work before or after those times. And even then, if it's nasty weather, we don't do anything. There's no busy work. I mean, some of the crew think it's busy work, but there's no busy work. The work we do is essential. That hatch indicates that's a SOLAS approved hatch of a certain height. The steering gear is that helmsman's at is I found it's off a 300-ton ship that I found sitting on a front yard in Denmark in a farm. I found that, very lucky to find that. Life rafts, there's 100% on each side, and the lockers are sitting on. Those are vegetable lockers and sailmakers benches. And we do most of our sail making on the quarterdeck there.
Mm-hmm.
Next. Here we're doing some machine work on sails. Most of it's handwork. We're switching from cotton canvas to a thing called Duradon. It's sort of it's a synthetic, and that is easier done on a machine. Cotton canvas is nice to do by hand.
Mm-hmm.
The machine's a little bit quicker, but not as much quicker as you might think. And here we are seaming the other Duradon. You can do that too. The decks are all white pine that went on in 1996, 97. They're holding up pretty well. Wire splicing, that looks like a jib sheet pennant. But we splice quite a few wires every trip. But anyway, we teach it. We've got spare wire. We can teach the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Next. And once in a while, we have a thing, I call it a captain's dinner. This is the little mess room that was developed over the years. It was in when she was a Norwegian coaster. This was developed. It was all formica and plastic, and then we did it over in steel, in mahogany and paneling. And we do this once a week at sea, and it's a chance for me to hang out with the crew and them to sit at someplace nice, and they sort of put on a nice shirt. And in the past, we've sometimes had a bottle of wine and have discussion besides forecastle discussion. It's a nice tradition. You try to do it once a week at sea. So after 24,000 miles, Pitcairn Island looms out of this is very early in the morning. I'm on the radio with Pitcairn Island. They're expecting us, and we've known each other very well, altogether too well. So I'm getting all sorts of unprintable jibes over the radio, and we'll just keep going till we get off Bounty Bay. This would be a whole hour in itself. But the thing in Pitcairn, it's terrible anchorage if you anchor at all. It's a heave-to situation. We put half the crew ashore if we can, and the other half stay on board with the ship, either hove to or at anchor, with a view that we might get underway instantly if necessary, because there's no anchorage. There's a place you can put an anchor down, but we've been anchored in 6-foot seas before off one end of the island, but it's just a round rock in the ocean. So the other reason is, of course, that this is our longboat, is that if we went all ashore, we'd over double the population of the island. We'd actually drain their resources. So half the crew works out pretty well. These are big 40-foot longboats. replacing their wooden ones that I knew from my first visit in the Romance. And they're big, powerful diesel boats, and they'll come out, bring out fruit, and hang out and talk, catch up, and mostly with me and Tammy and Dawson and the cook who's been there a number of times. And so like if it's good to go there once, it's awesome to go there more than once. It's coming back is even better than going there the first time because returning is the thing. That's the way of the Dow. It's all about returning. Anyway, Pitcairn. Now we're off to what's called Ted's side. I don't think I'm anchored yet, and she just came alongside, and there's about 40 people living there now, and they're mostly descendants of Fletcher Christian and the boys and the Tahitian ladies.
Mhm.
That's Dawson looking down at Bounty Bay. You see that sort of round key jutting out to the lower left there. I don't have the. Can I do the cursor? No, I can't do that.
I can. Hang on a second. And here you
Let me
go.
navigate your cursor. Okay,
Yeah, here we go. Hang on just a second.
okay, go.
And I think we're good.
Okay,
Wait,
stop. Okay, go left a little with your cursor. Go left a little bit more. Now go up a little bit more. That's about where the bounty is. The wreck of the bounty, a little lower. Down, down. No, lower. Right about there, where your dot is. That's roughly where the bounty is. Close enough. Yeah, they rammed her ashore because they knew the Royal Navy was coming, and they didn't want a ship there to be found. And they really couldn't sail her away anyway. They had to burn her. They made out like burning her was the end of the thing. No, once they ground her out, that was it. That is the anchor off the Bounty, and this is at the public square. Where feeding is a Polynesian Olympic sport, and so we were having a great big feed. But I thought this shows. I know everybody in that picture, but that's the Bounty's anchor, and it's interesting. She was a little vessel, but it's a huge anchor, and she had five of them when she left England. And the anchors are better than insurance,
yeah,
but it's a huge anchor. It's certainly as big as anything I have on Picton Castle, and Picton Castle is twice as big as the Bounty, and we have big anchors. This is a pool in the west side of the island, great for fishing and swimming. It's just a beautiful, stunningly beautiful physical island, and it's not very long. It's 1 mile by 2 miles or a little less, 2 square miles altogether, but it is just a stunning piece of geography. There's no barrier reef, and they've got two places you can kind of land if conditions are good, but the conditions are not usually good. Many trails like this throughout the island, and most of them follow the original trails developed by the mutineers and the ladies that went with them. Some of them quite reluctantly. It's a hell of a story, but not for now. What have we got here? That's a swivel gun. I think it's a small carronade off the HMS Bounty with Dawson sitting on it, of course. That was, I think, on his second trip to Pitcairn. Yeah, that's a second trip. He's been there 3 times. And this is the front yard of someone. Now we're leaving. This is the boat's loaded up. The ship's off maybe a quarter mile away, and time to leave. We got to go. And that's the longboat filled of Pitcairn Castle crew headed out to the ship because we got to sail onwards. And sail on where we do. It's about 300 miles to the next place I often go to, Mangareva. It's not far enough away. I think we shouldn't go there, but it's such a nice place to go. You should be at sea about 2 weeks after you leave Pitcairn Island, but it's only 3 days away. But it's a cool place. And it's also good to we've been at Pitcairn a week and we forgot everything and we've eaten too much and we're totally wrecked, but it's downwind, so we can manage okay. So here they are at the braces. Next. Dolphin at the forefoot. This happens quite a bit.
yeah.
But it doesn't happen so much that we don't call it out and get everyone to come up and look. We don't get jaded to this. At least try not to. Fishing is a thing we do. This is, I think, it's a sailfish, obviously. And we got a blue marlin once. And when Paul Bracken was the second mate, we caught a lot of fish. He knew how to catch fish. I don't know what it is, but And then one time the cook, once I were going through the Torres Strait, the cook in the back there, Donald, he said, "Stop fishing. With the freezers are full." So we had to stop fishing. Now this is the famous cat Chiblee. She made 5 world voyages, and she spoke, or either she that spoke English or she was completely telepathic. And there's too many stories about her that deny that. And we could have a whole session just on Chiblee. Amazing cat, but you don't want to cross her. She'd make you pay. But there she is, enjoying a sunny day on a handmade sail. And eventually we go and we get to, not even eventually, it's only 300 miles away, get to Mangareva and we approach another island. Now, if Pitcairn has no anchorage at all, Mangareva has one of the best anchorages in the South Pacific, and that, to the sole captain, is quite a relief. So in we go. And you can see there's a sort of circuitous path through well, it's sort of a pass, which is all nasty coral reefs. And then we go and then we anchor. And there's a spot there's some good holding in the Ricotea and Mangareva, some good holding and some terrible holding. And some of the good holding's really good and the bad holding's no good at all.
Mm.
But it's protected you have to go through one, two, 3 passes to get in. So the seas are always very small. And it's a lovely, very quiet, relaxed place. Do a lot of pearl farming there. Not sort of gregariously friendly like the Pitcairners, but a very quiet, cool, welcoming place, and very Polynesian. Fascinating history, kind of dark too, with a contact with Europeans. And it's Pitcairn Island was once inhabited for about, we think, 700 years by Polynesians, and they left in 1400 thereabouts, and we pretty sure they went to Mangareva, and that's a whole other story. We go alongside this time. There's a wharf which we can use. It's handy when it's rough weather. It was sort of rough weather this last time we were here. We had a lot of fronts coming through. It was a rough South Pacific. Don't know why. But that's just a pretty picture of a ship at the Copra Wharf, where it used to be Copra schooners tying up, and now it's us. Black pearl farms are a very big thing there. And I'm sure some of the crew traded for black pearls. They're not supposed to, but I'm sure they did. Um, but the valuable ones go mostly to Japan, and the secondhand ones don't go anywhere. So, I mean, not secondhand, but the not so good ones. But they're fun to have. Anyway, black pearls. It was so rough at Pitcairn Island that when we had 2 anchors out for a couple days, we had to leave. We couldn't stay as long as we normally. We just got too crappy. We had to leave, but the stock broke off one of our anchors.
Mm.
It was a big anchor, and we don't know what happened, but when it came up, the stock was gone. And so we talked. We have friends in Mangareva, and we sort of figured out how to make a temporary stock. And so we had to fix our anchor, but we have welding gear, and resourcefulness is critical on a voyage like ours. You don't call up Hamilton Marine and tell them to send it down. You have to do it yourself. Warping into the wharf along our capstan. I think we're surging out at this point. Just a pretty picture of one of our crew on the capstan. You can see the anchor chain. It's big. It's 1.25 inch chain. The port anchor is 1,500 pounds. The starboard anchor is 1,000 pounds. And the chain is 1.25 inch stud link. And we don't drag much, but we've dragged. But when we're dragging, it's pretty spook, not great, but she holds good. Just a pretty place. Beautiful place. They built a cathedral there. It's the largest cathedral in the South Pacific, and half the population of Mangareva died building it. That's not a pretty story. Tattoos are popular, and they have a good tattoo artist there, and this is very Polynesian stuff. And they're not tribal, they're Polynesian.
Mm.
One thing I like about Mangareva, because it's so enclosed, there's lots of little islands, and the outskirts is that we in the past many times we've done overnight expeditions in the longboat, and that's where one of the mates takes a boat full of crew and they go out for an overnight, and as long as they come back the next day in reasonable condition, and And they have to organize it themselves, plan it themselves. I give them a little advice where to go and where not to go, but they're on their own. Of course, we have radios and stuff, and we send a longboat, and we have an extra skiff with an outboard that also goes with them.
Mhm.
And they usually sail out or row out. It's about 3 miles to one of the motus, and that's a neat thing to do. It's fun to do.
Oh, you bet.
We've got this dory, built a dory shop 30 years ago called Sea Never Dry, uh, named after Carl Brown's, the sailor, now playwright Carl Brown's um, play of the same name. It has a Senegalese livery and a Norwegian colored flag, and it's fun to sail. Again, it capsizes, but so what? When they capsize it, they pull it up. So 3 or 4 people can go sailing and knock the thing over as much as they want. Doesn't matter. But it's a fun thing to do. What are we doing here? Hanging out in the folds of the jib, a time-honored tradition in a square rig ship. So we're going to the South Pacific, a lot of places. We're not going to touch them. Otherwise, this would be a 6-week presentation. But lots of pretty islands, meet nice people, lovely people, interesting experiences. We get pretty used to this. I'm very used to it. I'm missing it. Dawson is my son and my wife Tammy, very used to it. We're missing it. But lots of this. This is Cook Islands.
Yeah.
You can go again. And we put the boat in whenever we can. This boat's also being into Bounty Bay as we took it into Bounty Bay. We had to do that, of course,
Yeah.
on one time. But it's good. This is a very good experience for people. It trains them up. The coxswain has to be the skipper, and the thing with a longboat is that you're the crew of your engine, but they can't um, in tune what you need because they're looking backwards. So the skipper, the coxswain, has to be able to direct what they're doing, not and has to understand it intuitively, but explain it orally, and that's a challenge. And so, but it's a neat thing to do, and it's a great teaching device. And almost wherever we go, there's lots of food, and we make a point of if we've made good friends with anyone on the island, we have a little goodbye party on board. They're very so generous to us, it's insane. So we try to do something on board, so cookies and fruit punch and stuff, and of course they don't come empty-handed. That's why you see all the coconuts. But it
Mm.
is an exchange, and we can't help but come out the better. We don't try to. We try to, but we can't help it. So, there's nothing we can do for the islanders that they don't do for us 10 times over. And if we do something 5 times, they'll do it 50 times over. So there's no winning that equation. So you just have to
Yeah.
go with it. But, while we are passing through, some of us have been there before, and these are connections revived and renewed, and that makes a big difference. And that's a very cool thing, and I am missing that already. Next. Our anchor windlass is hand powered. It's the last 100A1 windlass built at the Lunenburg Foundry of its type. It never fails. Why don't you get hydraulic? Well, because what would these poor people be doing if we had a hydraulic windlass? They'd just be standing around watching everything. But it never fails. And hydraulic always fails. Hydraulic will fail. It is built in. It's going to fail. And it doesn't take as long as you'd think to get the anchor up, usually about 15 minutes. It's pretty rough if you slide off an anchorage and the anchor's up and down, 300 feet of chain is up and down. That's pretty hard. But we have ways of dealing with that. It just takes a little while. But this is heaving up. We're going. And we on the Romance one time, we had a kid from Beloit College, and he was kind of chubby, smoked a lot. And it was his first, second, third day. We had a windlass like this, and he was up there and he was sweating bullets, and he was just about to die. And he said, God, this is great. I go, well, he said it again. This is really good. I'm thinking, what's up with you? Can you imagine how hard it'd be without the windlass? "Mm, it'd be harder, a lot harder. Next. Our famous cook, Donald Church, has been with the ship 20 years. He's from Grenada. He came to the ship in 2007 when through friends of mutual acquaintances. And I said to my mentor, who was a shipwright in Grenada, Wesley Pilgrim, known as Bones, he was the shipwright foreman when I was a kid in Grenada. And I said, Mr. Bones, we need a cook. And he He said, Mr. Don, you come down, and he's been a wonderful prince of a human being. And I, yeah, and he's Dawson's godfather, and he's just a saint among saints, and a really good cook. We eat West Indian style, which suits me to a T. Sailing onward, this is actually Matavai Bay, Tahiti. Matavai Bay is where the Bounty and the Endeavor all anchored under Cook or Bligh, and it looks much the same as it did then. There's no village there anymore. It's become sort of a recently a. They actually filmed the mutiny on the Bounty with Marlon Brando there in the exact location where it happened.
Hmm.
And the fellow standing there with a backpack is Dennis Christian, who's a seventh generation descendant of Fletcher. And he's from Pitcairn, and we just happened to be there. And so he came down to the ship and says, Dennis, you ever been to Matavai Bay where it all started? He said he hadn't. Let's go. So we went down. What the hell? And and I think it meant a lot to him. We sail ever onward. You could go through the two Motus, which is atolls. There's the Society Islands are beautiful. Uh, Again, the slideshow would be forever if I showed all that. And this is a favorite spot. It's Palmerston Atoll in the Cook Islands. And there's no, again, the anchorage, you got to put the bowsprit over the reef to anchor. It's a terrible anchorage, but if the conditions are strong easterlies, it's okay. There's a couple spots the anchor holds really well. And they're extremely hospitable towards visiting yachts and stuff. And they're particularly hospitable towards us because we've been there so many times. I was first there in 1976. And I remember that, and they remembered our visits from then. And it's an amazing experience. Try to stay about a week. Again, crew half on, half off. Stay with folks on the islands ashore, and then they spend, let's go to the next one. Um, and what do we do? Well, we fish all day and sit around the bonfire all night and learn dancing. This is the boys doing a boys dance, and everyone gets into this, and the boys do a very hilarious dance. And the girls do a very elegant dance. I don't have a good picture of that. It's a good video, but they do some, and everyone, it's fun to do, and they all learn it, and they sometimes do it later on in different ports when people, geez, you picking castles here. What can you do? We can do dances, and we get the music out, and the boys get into it, the girls get into it, the islanders get into it, and we have one hell of a lot of fun. That object there in front with the hat and glasses is my good friend Carl Brown's son, Lukeman, who was a mariner. He died, and so we took his remains around the world with us, and he was with us every inch of the way, and he wore a cool hat. And he's very well respected wherever we went. But the Palmerston Atoll was not inhabited. It became inhabited by three English guys and their island wives from different islands, not Tahiti, Rarotonga, and Aitutaki. And two of the guys left, so William Marsters ended up with three wives. And everyone's there descendant of these people, more or less. And so you got your three family groups of Marsters. Everyone's called a Marster. And they get along, and well, mostly we get along. And we fish and go snorkeling, go diving, go to the other motus, and have an insane good time. It's criminal how much fun we have. And then we do big feasts under the palm trees. Sometimes if there's other yachties there, they join in, and it's priceless. Um, this is after the girls dance. They did a great job. I'm very proud of themselves. And many times, and in the past, we've gone on to the Pitcairn Castle women dancers. We went to a big event in St. Bart's one time, and we were the biggest ship there because we were the biggest ship there because you couldn't get a bigger one in there. And the girls decided they should do the dance for the party, and I think it's on YouTube somewhere. This fabulous dance, just really, really good. They practice all the time. Once they do it for fun on board, just on the cargo hatch. Let's practice our dance. And anyway, here they are, and it's a fun way to mix it up. We planted a ceremonial palm tree, so that's Tammy's palm tree, and they'll remember that as Tammy's palm tree. And I remember we walked through, and there'd be other palm trees. They all have names, and um, it's heartbreakingly wonderful. We have to learn skills, learning how to shuck coconuts, and which the islanders get coconuts. And the anchor And they'll shuck them and they'll put them in a refrigerator. They've got refrigeration, and there's nothing nicer than being handed a fresh ice cold coconut. The drinking nut, which is very sweet compared to the other ones where the sugar's been extracted from the water. So
Mm.
they're learning how to shuck them, and they get good at it. Not great, but good. The ship's hove to. We got driven off the reef. The winds came to the north. We had to get underway, but we didn't hold the visit up. We still kept the visit and kept the visit going. We just did it hove to. And there's Dawson in his natural element with his mom behind him. The water was cold. It was kind of weird. Our idea of cold anyway. There she is actually anchored at the reef, and that's close. But if the wind swings to the north, we got to leave. Time to go. So now she's hove to. Everyone comes out in the boats, and then we have a little sing-song and some Kool-Aid and cookies we made, and a lot of hugs, some songs, and then we set sail and go without usually starting the engine because the winds are fair. And then the boats peel off and they head back through a very narrow reef back into the lagoon. And then that would be it and then there's a lot of tears and but you got to keep going.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
small boats are a big part. When I make almost semi-facetiously say I have a 300-ton bark so I can carry small boats around. I think small boats are a critical component in seafaring and seamanship, and
Yeah.
it's what we established the bosun school around was small boats. You can't really be a really good big square rig mariner if you're not good at small boats. All the same decisions need to be made, and except quicker. Anyway, onward.
Ah, we've got the Chesapeake Bay schooner race coming up. And because it takes quite a while to run that commercial, we're going to skip over it. But I would like to invite all of you, if you can, to bring your boats down and join the Great Chesapeake Bay Schooner Race. We would love to have you, and it is the week after Columbus Day. So look forward. Check us out on our website, GCBSR, standing for Great Chesapeake Bay Schooner Race.org. Thanks very much.
Moving onward, Fiji. So we get anchored among these long liner fishing boats. There's hundreds of them. They're from Taiwan. They're from Korea. They're from China. I think some are from Japan too. They all look kind of alike. They're all these white long liners. Literally hundreds of them. Best sushi restaurant I ever went to was in Suva, Fiji. I don't have a lot of pictures here of Suva, but Fiji's an amazing nation, incredible diversity, wonderful city with all a great outdoor market. And you could spend months in Fiji. Um, we spent maybe a week or two, and we had to repair our boat. So interestingly enough, the fellow on the right is Peter Whippy's son, and his 8 times great grandfather came from Nantucket as a shipwright, and there's still shipwrights. And if you ask them where they're from, they'll say Nantucket. It's been a
Ah,
while since they've been in Nantucket, but still doing shipwright work, and they fixed our boat up and done this every time. We did a lot of work on Pitkin Castle, made nice seat, nice chest for us, and different things. And that's Peter Whippy's son. I'm trying to remember his name. I can't do it right now, but great place to get work done. And the we're not free of devices, as you can see, and you're not free of, and they've got good beer there. And the Royal Suva Yacht Club is very friendly and very welcoming. It's about the only place that we call a yacht club. It used to be a very serious British colonial thing. Now it's very much a local community center with some boats, but it's still the Royal Suva Yacht Club, and lovely place to land our small boat. And I think a beer is $2 there. So if you like beer,
nice.
it's not bad. There's Vi meeting up with Dawson again years after she got off. They're great buddies, of course.
Yeah.
And we get to Tonga. So let me see, where'd we go? Fiji a couple weeks, and then we go to Tonga. Yeah, Tonga. And Tonga's a fascinating place. Um, you go up this narrow fjord. It's completely different. Deep anchorages, but very well protected. Strong native, island culture. It's never been annexed by European power. It's a monarchy. I think it's the only Polynesian island that ever was French or English or German or Spanish or
Hmm.
something like that. It's always been themselves. And that's actually a plus or minus. They don't have a colonial parent country or godmother country to send them money. Pretty poor. Um, Rich culture, great dance, great everything. And in our case, great friends, since we've going there so many times. Uh, and that is my great friend. That's Betty. And she's the one who made her granddaughter Vi go on board. Said, Dan, Captain Dan, you must take my granddaughter. So we did, and that lasted 6 years. But she's a friend of mine. And who's that old guy on the right, though? Geez, old nasty white guy. Get rid of him. Um, Beautiful place. It's sort of a destination for bareboats now. There's a moorings there. You can go there. But it's it's got three major island groups. You got the northern group, and then the Niafu and Vavau, and then you've got the middle group, which is more sandy, low islands, and then that's in the middle, Hapai group, and then south you've got Nuku'alofa, which is the seat of government, and so it's a fascinating place and pretty. Lots of this. So back to sea and fishing is a big thing. That's a big Dorado. They usually come in pairs. They taste really good. I don't feel good about catching them, but we do. And we've seen a bit of Dawson. I thought we'd sort of do this. He has to do schoolwork. He's pretty good at it. He's been homeschooled, and he doesn't hate it, but if he could avoid it, he would. But he doesn't hate it. But so he's been homeschooled on board a bark. And people ask me, or all the geez, he's had a fascinating life, so exciting. Well, to him, it's just normal. To him, it's just another day, you know, it's Tuesday. So, um, do I gotta steer? Yeah, you gotta steer.
Great picture.
And getting off Tonga, we go to Vanuatu. Now, Vanuatu, formerly known as the New Hebrides, is this large island group that looks sort of cohesive and homogeneous, and it's not at all. It's every island has a different language, and I mean a really different island. In some cases, the language changes in a 5 mile walk from one to another one that's not interchangeable. Lovely, lovely folks. There's a couple places we go. I would like to go to more places to get to know more places, but a couple of them like Balam Bay, we just sort of got so friendly with we have to return there and really hit it off and follow some. So we get there, we anchor, and they come out. How are you doing? And everything stops. The village comes to a screeching halt, and it's Picton Castle week when we're there.
Nice.
Um, Kids looking. I mean, it's where the circus comes to town. I mean, yachts come and they have an interesting time. They're very good to them, but we're the circus coming to town because we have a huge positive and positive impact. We're bringing educational supplies that are donated to the local school. We get lots and lots of stuff donated, and we'll come aboard with a chain of people bringing stuff, and that's important to do because otherwise, I just don't feel good about it. And then we've done shade tree clinics with our doctors and medical supplies and saved a couple lives doing that. We're not going to heaven for this. I feel it's the least we can do. And trading day, we'll get onto that in a minute, I think. Let's trading. We get a lot of secondhand clothes, and it's really hard for folks in these islands to get clothes and very expensive. They have to get a truck to the other end of the island, get a ferry. They don't make any money, and they got to go to the other island, find a store. They got to stay somewhere with someone. So getting a t-shirt is a huge investment. So we bring the stuff, and I realized the only thing, well, we trade for whatever, a coconut, anything, it doesn't matter. But then there's an exchange, and everyone is equal and everyone's fair, and then people just tend to they shake hands and everything is good. But
Yeah.
where the circus comes to town, but we're also the what is it called? Anyway, some kind of store. And then we often have pots and pans. We fix them because they get rusted out or eroded. So we've done a lot of pot pan fixing. Some things we can't fix, but we do what we can. Pop rivet, pots and pans. And trading ashore. And this is fun. I sort of encouraged the crew and I said, here's the deal, just And then some we've been criticized. Oh, you're taking this wonderful carving. No, no, no. The guy was that was a rock on the bottom of a stream, and he knew he could carve onto it and trade it to for a pair of shoes or a t-shirt. That's a good deal for everybody. The guy gets rid of a t-shirt or a pair of shoes, and guy gets rid of a rock that was good for nothing, and it's a fair deal. It's everybody happy, and everyone. It's a lot of fun. It's a great way to meet people and to hang out instead of just gawking at each other. And
Yeah,
then at the night, we usually have a big kava ceremony and string band party. And that's a lot of fun too. Kava's terrible stuff. But that's me and the chief Saital having kava. And we became very close. He's died since. And so we have to start the car. It's a mild narcotic sedative and it tastes bad. And that's called a shell. And and the Vanuatu Islands, they're very strong. So two is about it. If you drink more, you're not going to really like it.
yeah.
And Chief Saital, we became good friends. We'd go off and I said, Chief Saital, do you like kava? No, I said, kava sucks. And beer's much better. But we get the party rolling. We have our two kavas, and there's some ceremony involved, and the party starts, and everyone has a good time. And it is a good time. It's a wonderful time. So we have to drink our kava. Then we have to have an open house. This was pretty funny. One time I said, Captain Chief Saital, what? Why don't we've gone through your village. Why don't you come out on the ship? And I said, the village is only, 50 people or so. That won't be bad, right? Well, word got past the other seven villages, and we had, I don't know how many people we had on that day. We had more than in the boat, the boat, the run itself. And we just said, okay, crew. And once we saw everyone come, we said, well, this is what we're doing today. And, be nice, be hospitable. Of course they were. And it was the first time they'd ever been on a boat. And Chief Saital, much to my surprise, says, he was sort of the culture chief doing dances and stuff. You'll see in a minute. And he said he'd never been on one of the boats before. And I thought, that's too bad. But anyway, lovely, lovely, lovely family. Um, and we stay in touch with his daughter Mary and his son and Dixon and we other ships have gone there. She got to say hi from us, and it's a very strong connection. Lovely, lovely folks. And they do a custom dance for us, and we pay for this, and it's how they raise sort of municipal money for the village, and it's pretty scary. It's really should be a video. And then when they're all done, they'll put on their shorts and button-down shirts and go to church on Sunday as Presbyterians. But it's they're keeping it alive. It's a neat thing and fun for us. Dugout pulled up on the beach. A fisher was just sitting there. This is not an uncommon sight. The fish is, but not the dugout. Lap lap, that's what they eat, which is sort of it's a starchy thing in the Hawaiian Islands. In Hawaii, they call it poi, and this is a bit thicker. And so one of the ladies came up to me one time, Captain Dan, can we have a fundraiser? I said, sure, yeah, I can do that. We'll put on a big lunch. I said, sure, you should. And I said, how much you want to charge? I'll just tell the crew. And they said, with a puzzled look, 50 cents? I said, 25? No, 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 no. No, $5. I mean, come on, you can do all that work for 50 cents? So no. I told the crew $5, and they were, of course, $5 is fine. Why not? And if it spoiled it for some yachties, I'm very glad to hear that. And then it's just a feed, and they got very excited about it and made some money, which it's really, really hard for them to make money.
Yeah.
And they have to buy things just like anyone else. They have to pay school fees, which are like a lot of money per year, and it's very difficult to get money. I mean, they have that subsistent lifestyle, but they don't have money. Anyway, lap lap. It's also beautiful.
Mhm.
Waterfall.
Lovely picture.
And Espirito Santo was a massive military base during World War II. It's the setting for uh, Tales of the South Pacific by James Michener. And the first time I went there in the romance, there was still people that were in the story were still alive.
Wow.
So it's only if you read Tales of the South Pacific by Michener, it's basically a true story, more or less, or close to it. So there's Quonset huts, and here's another village. We just presented some school supplies, and this was a thank you song. And But we have a cargo hold that's 35 feet by 23 feet. We can carry a lot of this stuff, and we get lots of it donated. So it's not like a couple boxes; it's like 20 boxes. Uh, Sets of school books that Nova Scotia doesn't want anymore. They might be only 5 years old, and we got a lot of paper and pencils, which and chalk and blackboards. They have blackboards but no chalk. And
Hmm.
wow, no chalk. Well, you got to have chalk. Good teachers, multilingual teachers, and it's kind of wonderful and heartbreaking at the same time. One time someone traded, we were having a trading day, and a guy traded a chicken for something. I forget what, and we kept the chicken. What do we want a bloody chicken for? So we went to the next port, which we just went next island, and I gave the chicken to the chief. And because what am I going to do with a chicken? Because he was loud at 4 a.m. We don't need that. Well, he kept it. We called him pot pie, of course, and he kept the chicken till we came back 2 years later, and then he slaughtered the chicken and we ate it, which I thought, well, okay. Um, Chief Allen, more trading. This is more closed day, so this is fun. Every village has its very different style. One village, the kids singing is just unbelievable. Um, this is Bantam Bay. This super friendly folks, really lovely. And this is the stuff we would trade for. And this is at Embrim. These are flutes. They have two notes. Those are tam-tams, carvings. And this would be the island of Ambrim. That's our world. And then from Vanuatu, it's 3,000 miles to Bali. And you have to go across the Coral Sea through the Torres Straits where it's hotter. Your eyeballs melt. And Bali is a wonderful place. Now, it's obviously getting more touristy over the last 50 years since I've been going there, but it's still worth going to. And there's centers of disgusting, well, might be the wrong word, disgusting, but concentrated urban surfer tourism, but you don't have to be at those places. It's got wonderful temples, ceremonies every day. You've got the monkey forest and temples. And the monkeys there are organized criminals. Be careful. One will distract you, the other will steal your sunglasses and then hold them hostage for bananas, and they're organized anyway. But love Bali. This is a little bit out of line. This is where we're anchored at the day before, but this is where the kids sing a lot. Terrible anchorage, but you can't get to this village except by sea, and I'm just hoping Steven Spielberg never hears about it. So I won't say the name. And Bali, very typical, wonderful ceremonial stuff, all kinds of traditions. There's the gong orchestra, there's all sorts of dancing, and this stuff they do for themselves, and you're welcome to come. Um, Kuta Beach there's a couple places that look like Fort Lauderdale and Spring Break, but you don't have to go there. It's still a wonderful place to go. Traffic is amazing. Don't rent a car, get a driver. You're not qualified. Wonderful temples everywhere, wonderful artwork, stonework, great food. Um, And they speak several languages there, and Balinese is not the same as Indonesian. There's so much to learn about Bali. And we're anchored in a Sarangan. Kids come out and swim off the ship, have fun. And that's Sonora in the background. Go on. This is not a tourist joint. That's someone's living establishment.
Hmm.
That'll be their hangout place during the day. Sarangan, with a big mountain in the background. I think this is we used to anchor in Benoit, but that's too packed to get into. This is, I don't know. This is about, I don't know, 5 miles away, better anchorage. And these are fishing boats. When I was first there on the Romance, they were under sail. They'd all go out in the morning. They'd all come back at night with these butterfly sails. But now they've got big outboards. Then there's this. So leave a little bit late. In late November. I've even gone in December, which is a little bit pushing it for cyclone season. But now we've got 35,000 miles to go to the next island, which is either Rodriguez or Reunion Island. And the Indian Ocean passage is usually a good one. Good, strong trade winds, make good time. It's about a month, depending. but you're keeping your eye out for cyclones. We got good weather forecasting. You really should get over in October or early November, but don't always do that. But we work on the ship. Carpenter Joe from Fiji stayed with us for a couple of years, and he was a good shipwright. Crew do rigging. No, it's a nice square rig passage, and we need this after Bali. Bali, we're often in Bali for 3 or 4 weeks. We need to cleanse Bali's fantastic, but we need to get to sea. We need to clean out the cobwebs and the shore life and get back to being what we are. Christmas at sea, that's fun. It's just like Christmas, you'd imagine it. I get all misty-eyed for a trade wind Christmas. All the New Englanders get all gooey-eyed for snow, and I go, "This is my Christmas. I'm good with this."
You bet.
Well, I was a kid in Aruba, and this is our Christmases were strong trade winds, and that's what I get all
Yeah,
misty-eyed about.
yeah.
I never bought the Santa Claus coming down the chimney thing anyway. He's kind of fat, isn't he? All right. Work to do, changing out sails, moving along, good times, making good time. Safety drills, on the way to Reunion, we do extra safety drills in Reunion. Our next stop is to around the Cape of Good Hope, which can be rough. Um, so we double up on this is more of a cold weather drill with exposure shoots, and we do a lot of heavy weather drills with watertight doors and nets and things like that. And go again. Next. New Year's, blowing off out of date flares. What the heck? Might as well. Besides, I got a 11-year-old boy thinks that's fun. It turns out everyone else does too. Practice rigging up nets to strain us out should we be in seriously heavy weather. When I was in the Romance for Durban to Cape Town, we were almost 3 weeks getting around the Cape, had to heave 2, 3 times during ridiculously heavy weather. This last passage from that same latitude, I think we were 4 days around which is fast.
Yeah.
But from Reunion, that was really fast. But we had perfect weather and perfect wind and perfect currents. There's a big current there, the Agulhas current. You smoke around there. It can be 3, 4, even 5 knots in spots. And then you get around the Cape and you hit the South Atlantic, and the water's cold. It goes from warm to cold over, within minutes. And what else do we do? Well, practice rigging, knots and splices. There's always more time to do that. Points of the compass. We do seamanship derbies at sometimes on two, maybe once or twice on a voyage where it's sort of a fun way to sharpen up the skills and make people learn the things that they don't. Because you're sailing along the trade winds. We had one voyage, I forget which one it was, where we didn't have one gale, and you get soft, so you need a little bit of push. There's only been one such voyage, but most there's 2 or 3 gales and near miss with a cyclone. But one we had no gales at all, kind of weird. So compass points. So that's painted on the skylight. Onward. Next. And then, these are pieces of wood for the chart house that get attached permanently. So in case there's very seriously nasty heavy weather, which is a standard damage control uh, device. Drills, drills, drills. Do them often. And sometimes it's just fun to wash the decks. I don't know, somebody brought a little blow up boat, and so I can't tell if it's curling or got the hose going and they're having fun. They're allowed to have fun. And then we get to Cape Town. I did not take this picture. Cape Town is an amazing place, amazing in southwestern Africa, amazing country, and Table Mountain is apparently one of the oldest mountains in the world, and it's sort of an ecological island. And when the waters were higher, it was an island. But Cape Town, South Africa, we're in the Western Cape is an amazing place. I can't even, we could do 6 episodes just on Cape Town in South Africa. It's what I like about it from a captain's point of view is we snake in there and we get way in and we get totally secure and we can tie the ship up. We have to go through several little canals and then get tied up. And what we do is we get a night watchman from a company that does that, and we just cut the crew loose, keep maybe 4 or 5 people on, and spend a month there. Okay, now go see Africa. Now's your chance.
Oh,
And then
nice.
we also do rigging, and that's the Cape Grace Hotel, which is the big posh hotel. And they usually put us there because they think we're pretty. And we had Don Cheadle on board one time. He came on board. Uh, had some other interesting. Had Colonel Hoare on a different ship. You might have, he was a mercenary that finally got caught. Um, Interesting people come. We work with a lot of schools, school system, and bring, we get rid of our last of our, not a last, we hold a lot of educational supplies to the township schools, which have nothing. They've got very keen students, very bright students, and very capable teachers. They don't have much in the way of supplies. So we discharge that. We do shippy work and rigging and sailmaking sometimes with a small crew, but mostly this is the chance to see Africa. And we're totally secure. We're behind a fence. We got a night watchman. So this is our chance to, break the watch system and really, this is your chance to see Africa. Stay a month, and if you're going to go somewhere, go now.
Yeah.
And others do rigging and the like. Um, and yeah, carry on. Now we're going to cut because this is taking a long time. We go from there to Namibia to St. Helena and then into the Caribbean. And this is going to be only Caribbean shot because the Caribbean is wonderful. I love it. I try to spend weeks in the Caribbean. Um, and let's see if I can do something. I'll be right back.
All right. This looks an awful lot like Bermuda.
Well, that is Bermuda. We spend as much time in the Caribbean as I can, and when we could go back just for fun to the other
Mm,
one. And we try to go through many of the islands because this is sort of if once you've done the world voyage like ours, the Caribbean is a different place than had you just gone there directly. The crew are trained mariners. They've got heaps of sea time. They got skills. They've also learned a lot culturally. They've learned how to be good visitors. They're really good at this now, generally speaking. And so what would be a problem at the beginning of the voyage is no longer a problem. One thing we do that's very fun when we can is we've gone to the Antigua Classic race, which is a race week for traditional yachts. Go in and anchor, and I just tell the crew, this guy, Alexis Andrews organizes this and some other people, and just wear your Pick and Castle t-shirt, walk up and down the dock and see if anyone wants crew, and they'll be takers. Now, they're not trained in these yachts, but they're good crew. And so they're jumping on it, and they'll come back to the end of the day and had a great time. And then I'll be getting VHF radio calls the next morning. Captain Moreland, you got any more crew? Because they've got the right attitude, the work ethic, and they know how to make something fast and sweat it, and they know how to jump on something. Whereas some of the other crew, not all, but some, they take 3 or 4 slugs on their Heineken before they do something. Our crew just jump on it. And I tell them at the end that that was your final exam, you all passed. So it's a neat thing to do.
yeah.
And so we go to Grenada, Carriacou, St. Vincent, Dominica, Martinique, Guadeloupe, uh, the Saints, Antigua. We've been to St. Bart's once, which was fun. It's, St. Martin, Anguilla. This is off Jost van Dyke in the
Mhm.
British Virgin Islands, which I used to work as a kid. And then from there we go to Bermuda. Bermuda is an interesting spot. It's an island exactly where you need one. And it's this interesting transition between the tropics and the north. And we spend a few days there. And then I pick my time because from Bermuda north, you're crossing the Gulf Stream, and this is where you can get all kinds of weather any time of the year. So I spend enough time. We usually have an end date we've already picked. So I do have to be back on a certain day at this point, but we've given us enough time. But here I can gauge the weather and we can calculate when we're leaving and leave at enough time, and then we come back to Canada, and that's the next one. Oh, I'm sorry. This is Caribbean. This is the king of the Netherlands was on board in the Caribbean. I'd been in Aruba as a child, and we were invited to be there for a tall ship event, and we were the tall ship. Um, so the king and his wife and the king and queen of Netherlands were on board, and we did a Polynesian dance for him, and it went pretty well.
Pretty fun.
Headed north we go. In Bermuda, we get the rigging all just right, the sails just right, and then eventually, okay, guys, hop on board. We're out of here.
Yeah.
We've also sent all our customs forms in because Canadians have to declare everything for the last 6 months, and we're ready for customs when we come in. They're usually pretty tolerant of the non-Americans. I mean, the non-Canadians, they let them through. And then this is an arrival at our dock. We came in with, can we go back to that last one just for a second? It was pretty funny. I'd maneuvered in stern too, and the crew were so excited. And the people on the dock were so excited, and the crew was so excited that everyone was forgetting to put the mooring lines ashore. But I was thinking the moms are just going to reach out and grab the rail and pull it in. But it's okay, here, guys, this is the part where you put the lines on the dock. And so that was pretty funny.
Right.
Anyway, and then things quiet down. Sails get sent down if we're not sailing immediately. Lunenburg gets quiet again. And that was a 33,000 mile world voyage, 14 months, 15 months, something like that. And there's another, and there we are. It's a pretty place to call home.
Beautiful shot.
But our heart is always in the South Pacific. And this is the Picton Castle anchored off Pitcairn Island. And we miss that a lot. And
Yeah.
we'd love to find a way to be there again. And there we are.
Wow. Dan, that was just great. Thank you so much for the time you spent with us. I appreciate that.
Oh, you're most welcome. I'm happy to take any questions or if there's anyone there for me.
We had some questions popping up in the early part, and I think you mesmerized them. Here's a one that I don't know if it's a question. It says, not a question, just a comment. We are crew on Spanish galleon Andalusia. We were docked near you, somewhere maybe Quebec in 2017, and one of your crew gave the very best behind the scenes crew to crew tour we've ever had. So
Oh, good.
thanks for the hospitality.
Thank you. Nice to hear.
Another one writes, Alice Cochran writes, is Morelda Warren still living on Pitcairn?
Yes, she is. And I'm in pretty frequent touch with her. Her mom, Mavis, died. But yeah, Meralda, we knew each other from 1975. Yeah, no, she's doing all right.
Oh, that's
She's
great.
still on Pitcairn, yeah.
And my friends Dan and Jay Lunsford write, based on your photo, it might have been your first officer, so thank her from us. I have no idea which photo, but it was early. And then Alice Cochran says, please show the PC address again. Well, I can do that. That's easy enough. And that would be this one. There you go. Yeah, let's take a quick gander at some of our chats, if we got some chat things. And, oh, my friend Gordon Locko in Canada writes, how many traditional riggers does it take to change a light bulb? And the answer is change. What do you mean change? There we go. Um, all right. I think we've got these, my friend. And the great thing about this particular series is that we can run pretty much as long as we want, Dan. And
I
you,
see a question here. The hull of this Pitcairn Castle was sailing in World War II. Yes, during World War II, the Pitcairn Castle was a Royal Naval minesweeper convoy escort. And I got to know some of the crew. They're all gone now. Pretty funny stories. It was part of the thing called the Wavy Navy. It was called the Harry Tate's uh, pretty scruffy crowd. It was fishermen with a young lieutenant, reserve officer, and these are hopelessly bad war vessels. But she got blown out of the war once, out of the water apparently. I think it bent her a little bit. I think she's a little bit bent, a little bit,
yeah,
and apparently was in on the raid of Saint Nazaire, France, according to some.
there you
I
go.
see. How
That's a
often you go to Marquesas? I see questions. I haven't been to Marquesas in a long time. Dan Jose, wonderful shipmate. Hello from Marinero, Bob Wallace. Yeah, good shipmate. Then we sailed together on the Pride of Baltimore later. I can see some of these. Do I scroll up? I guess I can't.
I can't. I think you can. Yeah,
Can I do that? I can't do that.
you should be able to
I should be able to do that.
put your mouse sort of in there and just roll your little roller.
I don't know how to do this.
Uh, let's see. On the side, there's a little slide bar.
Well, let's see what I can do.
Yeah.
Let me, oh, I see, that's working.
There you go.
Hi from Annapolis.
And Dick Schultz says hello in St. Pete, Florida.
And there's a shipmate from, looks like the Phoenix. Yes, the Picton Castle was sailing World War II. Was mustered out in December of 1945 after clearing mines from May through December,
Yeah,
and then was sold to Norwegian interests in 1955. The steam engine was taken out, refitted, and she was considered a new vessel. They do this technical rebuild, and the hull is still 99.5% original. It's amazing
yeah,
steel.
yeah,
Still fishing till about 1965. Then she became a trading vessel, working between Murmansk and Portugal. I
yeah,
found her in 1991, bought her in 1993. She was perfect. I was looking for something Joseph Conrad size. There was nothing that size, uh, so I got something bigger, a lot
yeah,
bigger, and a lot
yeah.
more powerful, and with a cargo hold. So it worked out really well.
That's especially good.
Oh yeah,
Now,
but that cargo hold is amazing.
we've got a second here. Do you want to talk a little bit about your bosun school?
Oh, be delighted we're setting up. It's not announced yet, but we're getting support and funding for Bosun School. Bosun School, of course, is it came out because I got these really good crew that were pretty good at square riggers and stuff, but couldn't handle small boats and didn't know a lot of things. And so, well, how do you do that? So we said, well, a lot of these skills can be taught ashore. So what we decided, well, let's see how much can we compact just to the skills. You still have to teach the software. So we figured 3 to 4 months, we could really get a lot across. But we figured we don't want people coming to this to figure out if they like boats. They have to figure that out. And it didn't take much, but something. Just this is your second experience at 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 worst. Um,
Hmm.
that's
Hmm.
worked out really good. I love doing it. It's a lot of fun, and we do all kind of moving heavy things, basic maintenance, splicing, rigging, wiring, all the stuff you don't get to do in the normal. I mean, we do it all on a world voyage, but that's a world voyage.
Right,
That's a
right.
year plus. That costs money, and so we're cramming this in for in a much more shorter amount of time, much cheaper, and a lot of fun. And also, we got to do a lot of we do small boats for every day, maybe 2 hours a day. We got two little schooners. And you learn a ton by small boats, especially if you screw up. But I can take the time to explain things and have them understand. And we really encourage questions. And the whole idea is to think and understand what you're doing instead of just doing it by rote. And now sometimes in a
Mhm.
ship you don't have that luxury. You just simply have to do it, and there
Yeah,
isn't much
well,
time to
I can tell
explain.
you love it. And
So it's
there you go.
tons of fun. It's very rewarding, and we keep it small. And any of the people that do it, and if they want to get a job on the ship, it's actually our placement's 100%.
Well,
That's pretty good.
that says it. That says it
Yeah.
all. Sounds
I
great.
see. There's another trip to Pitcairn in the future. I sure hope so.
Yeah, yeah,
We're conjuring up a Pacific trip. She might sail around the world again, but not with me. I'm getting too antiquated. I see hello from some shipmates. Pete Boudreau there, fantastic. And Clyde and others. And we got to go to Pitcairn again, and they can just take me and drop me off. Is probably what we're going to do. So
yeah. Sounds great.
we'd be there now, but there's no kids right now, and Dawson needs kids. And honestly, I'd be there now, but for Dawson.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So.
Well, it's an amazing program, and wow.
Well, it's a combination of a lot of things. The inspirations are, obviously in part, if those of you know the Yankee and the romance, of course, but it's also the Moshulu and the Denmark and, big deep water sail, as well as, I mean, the original inspiration probably came from this, and it's give me one more minute. Is that and years ago on the romance, I met these ancient, old, well, they weren't ancient at the time, but these old square rig sailors. And their dream was to sail a small topsail schooner or bark around the islands and dance under the palm trees, do a little bit of minor trading, and then enjoy the trade winds. And I said, "Oh, that's a very good dream. I don't need one of my own. I'll use that one." And so
Is that
that's
what
what we
happened?
did. And in Cape Town in the 90s and early 2000s, there's still a lot of these square rig sailors around. Some of them very cool. Oh, they're all
Yeah,
very cool. And I said, we're living their dream, but it's such a good dream to live. I don't need my own dream. I'll use theirs. And so that's what we've done. And it's been great.
and it's wonderful. On that, my friend, we're going to need to wrap. Um, I want to thank you all very much for joining us and staying with us. This actually is number 39 of our interviews. We are finishing our 4th year, which is a lot. And Dan Moreland's been along twice now. Great to have him back. And we are taking 2 months off this summer because I've got to make a living sailing too. So there you go. We'll be back in September. And I've got a lot of real cool stuff. September will kick off with a piece about Tristan Jones. So read up on your Tristan Jones and we'll see you then. And Dan, once again, thank you so very much. I really appreciate the time you spent. And you'll get a transcript of this. And away we go.
Okay.
All right, you. Here we go.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night, everyone. Have fun. Thanks, everybody. Have a great summer.